since we're talking about marketing, social media marketing, and then now you transition to becoming a business coach, what are some of the behavioral patterns you saw changing over time in terms of maybe B2B landscape or the social media landscape in general?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing going forward that we've seen with the crypto and Web3 and all of that stuff that's kind of happening is experiential marketing. I think that's going to be the next big type of marketing. And so what that means for layman's terms is really just how do you create an experience for your potential customer with your marketing.
Failure may be inevitable, but there are scientific values behind it. We've got to learn how to fail faster so we can learn smarter. Join me and let's uncover the hack behind failures. In these episodes, we'll get inside the minds of the successful, discuss the failures they've had in the past, and analyze what made them tick so we all learn from it. Welcome to Set to Fail podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Indolos. What's going on, everybody? This is Joseph. You're listening to Set to Fail podcast, where we analyze all sorts of failures, turning adversity into potential business opportunities to enable aspiring entrepreneurs, professionals, embrace failing forward so they can execute smarter with their day-to-day tasks. So it's a great pleasure for me to introduce our guest today, Scott Cox, who is the founder and president of Social Reach. Scott, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Joe. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome, that's great. And if we can start with a quick unpacking of your overview of your background, current roles, the business that you I believe you sold. So that would be a great start.
Yeah, it's always an interesting question for me because it's like, where do I begin? I've done so much in my business career, but basically about 10 years ago or so, I left in the U.S. I left a corporate 9-to-5 job. Just was tired of it. Was making good money, but didn't like the golden handcuffs, as we say over there, and left that to start an actually a financial services independent kind of operation and an office, and eventually left that to do real estate. Didn't like real estate because there's no control in the process of buying and selling properties, and then kind of just fell into marketing after the real estate thing was in transition. Wasn't sure what I was going to do next, and ended up having a local friend in the business community come up to me, say, "Hey, I want to market my company. I heard you're good with some social media stuff, which I was using to network my previous companies and get clients that way." And so I said, "Sure." I was like, "Can you do me a favor? Can you pay me in advance?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, great. Then I'll help you out." And so 6, 7, I don't know how many, 8 years later, we've grown that into a full agency. We have a full team. We've helped a lot of clients, high dollar net worth clients to, the small local mom and pop who's, making food, baking cakes and pressure washing driveways. And so, earlier this year, sold a portion of that to a managing partner who's a good friend of mine. And so we worked out a really interesting deal for that. So now I get revenue on that for the rest of the business's existence, which is really cool. And I don't have to manage it anymore. And what I'm focused on now is really taking the knowledge that I have and the experience I have, and using that to invest in newer businesses, as well as coach other businesses into building their businesses and their lives into what they really want and what makes them happy in life.
Oh, that's awesome. And, happy to hear that you were able to, I personally call it like an exit.
Yeah,
Gracefully.
that's what it is. Yeah.
because a lot of these startups, unfortunately, they cease to exist in the next 5 years because the struggles and all, but having to reach that uh, status where you're able to still make money out of it, and then also do the things that you want to do is really special. Great, that's awesome. Say, and congratulations with your success with the social reach. And but I understand that in setting up a business, there were a lot of challenges, obstacles, right? So I'm guessing you've experienced a lot in the dynamics of building teams, building people, building a process. What were some of the key takeaways that you can share to our audience? So it will be a good learning experience.
Yeah, for sure. And I think anytime you're building anything, you're going to have a lot of challenges or lessons, that you have to learn along the way, especially depending on your experience with, business specifically. Have you built a business before? Have you run and managed a business? And so I'd say, some of the main challenges that definitely come to mind, the things that stand out are people, hiring and holding on to the wrong or the right people, choosing the right or wrong people to surround you,
Hmm.
who's feeding you advice, who's feeding you ideas, who do you have a board of directors? Is kind of the line of thought there. And you don't have to have a literal, corporation board of directors that's paid, but do you have a group of people that you can consult that can give you different points of advice from different sets of experiences? It's something that's
Hmm.
very important. It helped catapult me quickly in my business and my entrepreneurial career. Um, so I would say most of the challenges for me, at least, have come around people. I would probably say the other thing, just for people and businesses, business owners in general, is trying to figure out what makes you happy, what you actually want from your business and what you want from your life. Sometimes, we think we want one thing, and
Hmm.
then when we get that, we realize we actually want something different.
Right.
And sometimes I think we chase things in business. It's funny, we all start our businesses with kind of goals and ambitions and things we want to accomplish,
Hmm.
and hardly do those initial goals and ambitions ever come to fruition in the way that we think they will. And so, a lot of times we have to be flexible, but we have to be in our businesses, but we also have to be focused on, our personal lives. And I think a lot of times our businesses can kind of get um, to be all consuming, or kind of run away from us from a little bit, to where we start chasing it to try and make it successful. And we kind of lose sight of the things that were, really important to us personally.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I totally 100%. It's always popping up where with some of the folks that I talk to, it's all about trying to understand the passion as opposed to creating a business for the sake of chasing what's driven by economic potential, or let's say just because there's a lot of money there, right?
Right.
So because like what Steve Jobs said, where things will be very tough, and in order for you to still wake up in the morning, still do it, you must really have the desire to have that type of business, because things
Absolutely.
will be challenging and all, right? So, but I wanted to just a quick segue. I wanted to touch point on one thing that you mentioned about the assembling a board of directors. Now, here in Philippines, as you may know, because you already experienced a lot of the economic climate here. It's not normal here. Especially if you're creating a small business, like a very small one, like traditional one.
Sure.
How would you, for example, for me, I'm trying to create my own business. How would you structure assembling a board of directors? You mentioned it's okay to assemble a board of directors that shouldn't, they won't get paid, but how do you attract them? Like, just from your advice.
Yeah, when I say a board of directors, I kind of mean that pretty casually. So, for example, do you have a group of people that you can talk to and relay ideas back and forth with. So, for example, I had, for example, with the marketing agency, while I was growing it, I got connected pretty early on to a friend of mine who we ended up, he had his own business. It was a SaaS product. I had my business, which was a marketing agency. The two businesses actually coincided really well. We were able to use the SaaS product to facilitate some of the needs for our clients. And so we weren't in business together, but we worked together in our businesses and we became partners, so to speak, for the same cause for our clients. And he became one of my quote unquote board of directors. He was someone that was very experienced in software, technology, systems, processes,
Mm-hmm.
running a business efficiently, even down to things like SOPs, which are standard operating procedures for how you run your business.
Mm-hmm.
And so he taught me a lot of things that, let's say, your mainstream influencers online are not talking about as far as like how to run and manage a business. And he was not a paid board of directors. I did not have official board of directors, but he was one of my quote unquote board of directors. He was someone I went to when I said, "Hey, I'm thinking about implementing something in my business. What is your thoughts on this? What potential pitfalls do you see? Risk reward. Do you see? Is it worth the risk to potentially get the reward that we're looking at?" One of my other quote unquote board of directors was a client of mine. He
Mm-hmm.
just had extensive business experience,
Mm-hmm.
not in a field that was related to anything I did by any means. But he had extensive business experience. He had extensive experience with hiring people, managing people, working with clients. And so, again, we would, help each other back and forth. He was a client, he paid us, but at the same time, we had a casual conversation whenever we wanted to, like, hey, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? So, how do you attract these people? I think you find a common interest and common goals, people that are trying to do the same things. That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean necessarily grow your business the same monetary level, or you have the same business idea, or even that your businesses can operate together. But can you get two or three people that surround you that are also in business, that are also growing, and maybe they have some different expertise from you, that you can give them your expertise, they can give you their expertise, and you guys can operate as a board of directors and just help each other grow.
Wow, wow, that's really eye-opening. It's like the trade or the barter would be.
Exactly.
It's not monetary. Sometimes you just use their product or their, for a better example, let's say they have a CRM product, you use them, but the owner, you can make him or her as your board of director is more of a type of
Exactly.
level. Oh, I mean that actually makes me think a lot of things now. So that I appreciate.
You're welcome.
There's our listeners, a lot of our from the Philippines, and I do believe there's a lot of potential in terms of aspiring entrepreneurships here. Hopefully, this could help us a layman's terms approach on some of these things, right? Because it's a big word for us. If we hear a board of directors, oh wow, that's a corporation. It's like not
Right. Right.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely floor, and maybe we can talk offline about that as well.
Yeah, and I mean that can also be something, a little bit more official. Again, doesn't have to be against people that you hire to as a board of directors. You could also have a business coach, as one of those board of directors, someone who
Right.
is experienced in what you're doing, who's already been down that path, that you do pay, but they're not as a board director, just as a consultant or business coach. That can be one of your sources. I think when it comes to this, it's important to note as well. It's good to have, I think, two or three is a good number of opposing views to give you perspectives to think about. However, if the reason big corporations a lot of times take so long, um, to make decisions is because they have too many board of directors.
Right.
So you don't want to get too many opinions, because then it's going to confuse you. It's going to give you too many different, varying perspectives, and
Mm-hmm.
take you too long to make decisions. But having two or three key people that you really trust, have your best interest at heart, and really have some genuine experience that they can share with you, can really help you overcome some problems before you even have them, and just propel your success for sure.
Oh yeah, and that's also a very interesting point where the opposing point of view is, I think, something that would provide you genuine feedback, right? So that's awesome. Like, someone coming from a different industry that would eventually hire your, service or your product, and then uh, they'll provide you. No, no, this doesn't work for me. No, this works for me. Things
Yeah,
like that, right?
with my SaaS partner, there was many times him being primarily a programmer, and me being a marketer. We have very different communication styles, and ways that we think. Frankly, he's very much programmatic, and numbers and zeros and ones, versus I'm much more, what is the meaning behind things, you know, and
Yeah.
how do we portray that to people? And so there were many times when I would consult him, and maybe we would disagree, and I'd still do it anyways. And
Yeah.
then sometimes I was right, sometimes I was wrong. Sometimes he was shocked, sometimes he was, proven right. So, that's just part of, doesn't mean you have to listen to everything they say. It's just there to be a sounding board to,
Hmm.
to help you make good decisions.
Awesome. That's awesome. Great. And then, since we're talking about marketing, social media marketing, and then now you transition to becoming a business coach, what are some of the behavioral patterns you saw changing over time in terms of maybe B2B landscape, or the social media landscape in general? Um,
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, um, to going forward that we've seen with the crypto and Web3 and all of that stuff that's kind of happening, is experiential marketing. I think that's going to be the next big type of marketing. And so what that means, for layman's terms, is really just how do you create an experience for your potential customer with your marketing. So how can you make your message, your marketing memorable for the people that you're trying to get in front of? Um, and so there's a lot of different ways to do that. It's obviously can be very difficult to be creative with, depending on the type of business you have, to create experiential marketing.
mhm.
But in layman's terms, it's really just how do you use what you have, and what you're trying to offer people, and how do you create an experience around that? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And then how
Yeah.
do you package that in a message that they'll receive, and understand, and accept, and then want to come and experience that with you.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like you mentioned about crypto and Web3. There's now a new coin term called blockchain marketing, and I don't
Yep.
know how how it would work, but the I think the concept or the principle of blockchain can be applied, but it's interesting and exciting to see what's gonna unravel, especially
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to pull away from that is if you look at the NFTs, and
Mhm.
obviously a lot of that is crashing right now as you and I are speaking, and
Yeah,
we've got crypto, not crypto.com, but some of the other exchanges and stuff.
yeah, I think FTX or something.
Yeah, have taken financial troubles, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of noise with that. But I think in the long run, there's, I can't remember the name of it, but there's a watch company, and basically what they did is they sold an NFT, and basically if you bought this NFT, you either got to get one of their like premium, like exclusive watches. You
Hmm.
could redeem it now, or you could keep it in like a vault forever, and it supposedly will grow in value over time, almost like a collectible.
Wow.
um, and so I think, the whole thing with that is, again, creating experiential marketing. They were able to use crypto, cryptocurrency, NFTs, blockchain technology to create an experience around where they're not just selling some images now that
Mm-hmm.
people are putting, you know, whatever values on because they feel like it. They actually are tying those NFTs and that technology to a physical product, and creating an experience out of buying that NFT. So
Wow.
that's like an example of how you can do experiential marketing and use that technology as well. I think for good. We're going to see a lot of these NFTs, and we already have go away over the past year, and but I think you'll see a resurgence come back. I don't. I don't. Some people just say it'll be like the QR codes,
Mm-hmm.
where there'll be some practical use, but they
Yeah.
may not be a thing. And some people think it's going to be the new wave of the future. I don't really know, but I think people that can tie those to legitimate experiences or legitimate products will have a lot of success for sure.
Yeah, it's like the CD era converting to an MP3 file. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's there are some obviously vulnerability back then, risks, but now we don't listen to any CDs. We listen to Spotify, right? So
Yeah. We don't even own music really anymore. We just stream it,
yeah, yeah,
which is pretty crazy to think about.
yeah, and that could happen to a lot of these digital, uh, oh, sorry, physical to digital products. So cool. And based on my quick research, just a quick pedal back, you were able to sell the business, right? So awesome. So from a merger and acquisition standpoint, it's not every day that's happening here in Philippines. But what are the takeaways you can share? The themes and all those things that happened during the M&A.
Yeah. So the structure of our deal was that what I wanted was to exit the management role of the business. Still passionate about small businesses, still passionate about helping them grow. I feel like I could do more on a coaching level, and I still had all of this knowledge in my head for marketing. Even down to specific platform. How to run Facebook ads and Google ads and all that kind of stuff because I had to train the team that we had in place to do all of that. And so I didn't want to just walk away from it completely. I also wanted to have this lifestyle where I could travel, and my lifestyle was basically paid for it. And so um, a good friend of mine, we had been friends for a few years. He actually owns another marketing agency in the same, based in the same city. Believe it or not, we just kind of linked up again at the right time. It kind of just worked out to where he was interested in buying the business. And basically, what we said was, hey, what we worked out was instead of you paying a lump sum for the business, let's just do a profit share um, indefinitely. You take all the customers, you take the employees, the systems, the processes, everything, basically except for the branding because he had his own altogether, and I'm
Mm,
using that now, repurposing that branding. Um, and so basically said, take all of that. I'll still support you. I'll be here as a quote unquote consultant coach for you, as well as anything you need to jump in and help out with the business because I'm still passionate about it. I still understand it and know it. And so that was a deal we worked out. And I got to say, I've done my focus now is investing in newer businesses and helping other businesses grow as a coach. So kind of being an investor and coach at the same time. And I got to say, when it comes to these kinds of deals, the people is the most important thing. So who you're selling the business to, how they're going to treat the business afterwards. What are they going to do with your employees? What are they going to do with your clients? Because it's very easy for someone to buy your business with good intentions and then, run it into the ground very quickly.
right. Yeah.
It's also important to manage your client, especially at this level. We have retainer clients in that model. So clients that are pay us every single month for services every month. So managing client expectations and relationships, letting them know that they're going to be taken care of. Your employees. There's a lot of moving components as far as that goes. So making sure you take your time, and then just contractually as well. There can be a lot of loopholes and things that can come up once you quote unquote sell a business. You want to make sure that you have a solid agreement, contract in place. Kind of try to think of any possible scenarios that might happen in the future where maybe there's not at least in this situation where there's a profit share. That maybe that could be forfeited, and
Mhm.
just working through all those different scenarios. So just the details really matter in a situation like this. Taking your time, moving methodically, making good decisions, and on the contracts and with your clients and your employees, and making sure everyone feels good about it. Is an important part.
Absolutely, I understand. I totally agree. Because yeah, I also experienced, but I was an employee back then, where we got acquired, and you're right. Imminent failure is not certain as long as you're not failing people. And the sad part about M&A is people will get affected. There will be some
Hmm.
transition happening. Sometimes acquisitions is just the purpose of taking down the competition, which is
Yep.
sad. And hopefully that's not always the case. But as long as
What
people go.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think, and that's where it comes up to you, because this is actually the second business I've sold. The
Oh,
first
okay.
business was actually a few years prior, to about 5, 6 years prior, and it was actually a microgreens farm that I had started near the same time as I started the marketing agency. So
Hmm.
microgreens are the very early stage vegetables, before they actually grow the fruit and grow into full, plants and everything. You can eat those; they're very nutritious and but I
Hmm.
actually sold that, and that business sale was because we were competition, and the other company wanted to, remove us as competition because we were doing some pretty heavy marketing and having some success.
Hmm.
And so this sale was for different reasons because I wanted to exit as a management role, as a client management and employee management, just everything that comes along with owning a company. I
Right.
wanted to be out of that position, and I think if that's something that anyone here is considering doing, like you own a business and you're wanting to potentially be free of that business and get out, or see an exit or a liquidation, ultimately it's your choice. I would say finding the right person. If you're not wanting to have that business closed down, I would
Hmm.
say it can take you some time to find the right buyer for sure and be prepared for that. But at the end of the day, it's our choice with who we decide to take over that company. And once we sell it, there's really not a whole lot of control we have. But you can do as much due diligence in the beginning as you can to try and find the right buyer for sure.
Awesome. Oh, we do have a lot of commonalities, if you will. I have a small farm, like an urban farm
Oh,
here in
nice.
Rizal. Yeah, we're doing. We're cultivating oyster mushrooms. We have tilapia pond, and then we
Fantastic.
have hydroponics. And one of these days, maybe we can meet up, and then I can show it
Yeah,
to
I'd
you.
love to come check it out for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's in a controlled environment, and I'm for sure you experience the typhoon, right? The recent
Yep.
ones, and fortunately, it the proof of concept, it did not get destroyed. So
Well, that's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll talk offline about that, and
Perfect.
then yeah, with the putting up the business, investing on other businesses. Now you've have these types of experiences, right, in your arsenal. Is there something that you wish you could have done differently, and then, or maybe going forward, you will do things differently, have the probability of success skyrocket?
Um, yes. The short answer is yes. However, My business career it mimics my investing career, which is very interesting. It's all over the place. So I have businesses in that I've invested in and that I am a partner of that literally are just all over the board as far as industry goes. And so sometimes, you obviously can't be an expert in everything. You can't know every industry. You can't know the ins and outs of everything you're doing, and that's where key
Yes.
partners come in. And so, that's probably one thing I would say is going forward that I would do differently than I did in the agency up until this year, is really making sure I have the right partner. If I had a partner when I grew the agency, probably could have changed a lot of the dynamics for me, saved me a lot of time, effort, and money and things.
Hmm.
Um, and so having the right partner, again, it could be as simple as having your two or three board of directors, quote unquote. It could be, actually literally having a partner in the business. If you're investing in a business, making sure you have the right managing partner, someone who can run the business, who has experience in that, and will manage it effectively. So that's probably one of the biggest things I would say. People just matter so much, in
Hmm.
life and in business, whether it's a personal relationship or whether it's a business relationship. They're equally important. Your relationship with those people and how you treat each other. So that's probably the biggest thing. Implementing systems, processes, and people faster.
Hmm.
Um, and then I've kind of always have grassroots grown my companies, which means I've gone out, made some money, taken that money and reinvested in the companies. So, I've not been one to take out loans or financing or things like that to grow the companies. Much rather grow slower, and grow healthy. At the end of the day, I think one of the biggest mistakes that I made in the agency, marketing agency, was trying to grow too quickly,
Hmm.
spending a lot of money, and effort and stress on trying to grow, 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 when I could have really just kind of sat back, enjoyed the process more,
Hmm.
and had a healthier, happier life.
Oh, that's awesome. That's gold. I'm guilty of that. I always wanted to achieve more by doing
Hmm.
less, which eventually, and I'll be upfront, took a toll to my health, and then got COVID and all. So right, so taking it step by step, baby steps, and to your point, earl right now I'm trying to throw everything on the wall, see what sticks
Yep.
to the business, and then try to hammer on that thing that's stuck. So yeah, this is all of the points are very helpful, and to our listeners, I always say that we don't dwell on the past failures, but rather we're trying to create a community of shared success because we learn together. We have the benefit to understand what patterns, what went wrong before,
Hmm.
and then hopefully you can either avoid it or go right through it, but more intelligently, and you can solve things quickly. You can fail forward. So, and to someone that starting a business. I know you mentioned a lot of great points already earlier, but do you have any suggestions, advice, especially here in Philippines, right? A lot of people are scared to jump, take the leap of faith. What are the things that you can share to the audience?
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing, especially for new entrepreneurs, new business owners, is again, we kind of get this idea in our head, and a lot of it's from marketing online. Um, Ironically enough, where we feel like we have to jump in and go all in on a business. We talk about, especially here in the Philippines, there's a pace of life here that's much different than in the US.
Mhm.
It's much slower, much more relaxed, which is actually, I think, healthier. It's a good thing. And I think, that can be used to a benefit. So what I'm getting at, the point is there's nothing wrong with starting a business while you have a job, right? Or if you're a power couple, having one run the business while the other one has a job.
Mm-hmm.
There's no shame. There's nothing wrong with that. You can start a business that you think may be interesting to you, that you think may be successful. You can start it as a side hustle. And what I always tell people is work that business until that you're making more money in that business than you do at your day job. That's when you can quit your day job, because
Mm-hmm.
now the day job is becoming a hindrance to you growing your business. And that can save you so much stress, so much financial trauma.
Mm-hmm.
That can save you relationships with family and clients and employees and just everyone who's going to be associated with you having a business. And it's also a safer way to kind of go ahead and get started. You don't have this pressure that you have to go out and perform. And if you don't really know what you're doing, you're kind of, like you said, throwing things at a wall. If you have your bills paid for, basically, your necessities paid for, then it
Mm-hmm.
relieves a lot of that pressure. Um, and that's what I did when I went into business before the marketing agency. Like I said, I left my corporate job, making pretty good money, cold turkey. Went right into business. Had never run a business before. Didn't know what I was doing, and I really struggled for the next 3 to 4 years. We paid our bills. Thank God we were able to do what we needed to do. But it was tough. It was very, very stressful, very tough.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many times I wish I would have, looking back, of course, say I wish I would have kept that job and built something on the side,
Mm-hmm.
because I would have been in such a better financial position, as well as I would have been able to enjoy it a lot more. Running a business is, I think can be fun. And especially when it's small, when it's just you and it's a passion you have fun with it. The other thing with, if you just jump into a business, is you kind of have to take customers, right? And so what you charge can be at the whim of what your customer is willing to pay if you don't have the ability to hold out for the right customers. When you have your basis paid for and you're doing something you're passionate about, you
Mm-hmm.
can set your prices. And if someone doesn't want to buy, okay, it's not a big deal, right?
Yeah.
You just wait for the next person who actually sees the value.
Mm-hmm.
And so, along those lines, I just want to throw this out there. Like, just because someone is not willing to pay what you're asking doesn't mean that your value is lower. It just means
Right.
that they don't see your value. So the biggest piece of advice I would say is, if, especially brand new, trying to get into a business, especially if you've never run a business before, never had one, it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to throw your work-life balance out of whack for a period of time, right?
Yeah.
Um, you won't have work-life balance. You just have work, work, work. But in my opinion, it's okay to do that for a period of time, as long as that's going to lead to you getting kind of back into equilibrium with your work-life balance.
That's awesome. That's gold. And to our listeners, uh, all of these things, something that would help you uh, carve out the trajectory of your business career. So, hopefully this helps a lot, and especially, I think one of the key things that I kind of did is uh, before starting a business, try to do sales first, or try to be a marketer first, because
Yeah.
you you need to sell your own product or your service. If you can't do that, then that it's going to be an uphill battle. Uh, but if you start with that, I think you'll be able to. Uh,
Yeah, and that's a great point, because most people still, I think, operate under the belief system that, hey, if I open up a business that brings real value to people, people will come and they'll give me money.
yeah,
And unfortunately, the world doesn't work like that anymore. It used to, when you were the only blacksmith,
right.
in 50 square miles. People had no choice. But nowadays, there's so much variety. There's so many choices. It's not as bad here in the Philippines as it is over in
Yeah.
westernized countries, but even if you go to the store, there's so many options of products you want to buy, and that's kind of how the business market is. And so you really have to, in this business climate, you have to be a marketer first and a business owner second, which means you have to be able to market and sell whatever it is that you're doing successfully, or it doesn't really matter what you do because people won't care and they won't
Yeah.
buy from you.
Yeah, like I forgot the name, Berkshire Hathaway, the partner of Warren Buffett,
Yep.
said that we're approaching, an era that everything is built, everything is there, everything is
Yep.
provided. So how do you set yourself apart from the rest? How you emerge from the noise? So, and even it's crazy. Not just the Western countries now, even like countries like India and China. A lot of them are like unicorn companies. So hopefully, we see a unicorn company in the Philippines as well. So I think
They
that's a good.
they can still pop up, but that's why they're called unicorns.
Yeah.
um, so I guess just maybe if you're looking to invest, maybe look for a same product or service just in a pretty new bow and
Oh
packaging.
yeah. And like how Uber is in the U.S. and Grab is here in
Yep.
Asia. So it's a lot of things to automate here. So awesome. So you have a lot of value to provide to the Philippines, as well as thank you for being doing the noble jumping the taking the leap of faith here in Philippines and seeing the potential here. So where can they find you, the listeners? Are you in? Do you have a website? The socials?
Yeah, so you can find me. I'm most active on Facebook and Instagram. Please connect with me. I'm trying to grow my network here in the Philippines. I definitely, have some experience with the business climate here, but I want more. I really want to get in depth and grow and learn. And so feel free to connect with me. I'm happy to help you out however I can if you need anything from me. My handles on Facebook and Instagram are um, Skizzard22. That's Skizzard 22. Or you can find me Scott Cox. Potentially, there's a lot of Scott Coxes out there actually, so I don't know. The my website, if you actually go to socialreachagency.com
Hmm.
/Scott Cox Coaching. And my name is spelled Scottcox. And so that's socialreachagency.com /Scott Cox Coaching. You can kind of find out some information about my coaching and what we do and what I'm passionate about and what I can help you do.
Awesome. And to our listeners, we'll include the links to the description so you can easily check out and inquire as well. So that's it for now. If you like this in YouTube, please drop a comment, like, subscribe. This is also available in Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave a review. And you can also check our content library. We update that almost every week, every day. Again, thank you so much. This is Joseph Indolos. You're listening to Set to Fail podcast. Scott, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Appreciate having you. Thank you.
And there you have it. We hope you enjoyed and learned a lot in this episode. And if you did, please subscribe to YouTube, hit the notification bell, leave us a comment, also reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcast. This would really help the show to continue creating more and more insightful content for us to learn together. Thank you very much. Have a great day.